At 5 years, and it was like 1 to 5 years. They let him out in less than a year. Violated that, went back. Right, then caught new charges, and now he's got 15 years. Now, you can go in for a year, you can go in for 18 months, and no one's ever going to check your record and see what I see in this guy. There is no way this guy's going to be going in there for 15 years. And he's not going to run across someone along the way that's going to say, hey, can I trust this guy? Let me have somebody check out his record and see what kind of deal. And then it's going to come back that this guy's a rat, that the guy's a snitch, that he made cases against his friends. And then you got a miserable time. Okay? And it's not it would have been an easy 18 months when you're 25 years old. And now this guy's going to have a miserable 15 years when he's 35 years old. And he's in there with a bunch of 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds. Okay? All right? They're coming in off the street. They're in good shape. He's in there, withering away. With all kind of sicknesses and pneumonia and stuff like that. Now he's got a rough time ahead of him, man. All right? Same thing with this other guy. Did the same thing, man. He had an easy... Could have did 18 months, 2 years, right? He makes a deal with the cops. Oh, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to do that for you. They let him out, and he doesn't do anything for them. They pull him in and say, listen, you got to do something for us. Otherwise, we're going to revoke our deal. He said, okay, I better head for the hills. He stopped showing up, right? Then they catch him. They caught this guy with over 28 grams of GHB. This guy got another 20. We don't know exactly what the sentence is, but this guy could get 25 years. Okay, young kid, and when you're in there for 25 years, sooner or later, you're going to be housed with a guy who has something to lose. He checks out the people around him because he's got a little money, he's got a little connections, he's doing stuff in there, and he's going to see your jacket, and he's going to see you made a case, and you're a rat, all right? And word's going to spread overnight, and you're screwed, and you're in there for another 20 years. Both of these guys, young guys, threw it all away. Now, I got to tell you, I tell you these things, because I don't want to see people making the same mistakes. And there's, young guys out there, and I know that they're out there, they think they're doing things, and they're getting along, and they're getting away with stuff, but sooner or later, it's going to catch up with you. And I tell you these things, too, and I do these other shows, too. People say, well, Ed, you hate cops, you hate I don't. But it's all the same struggle for justice, okay, is what I'm trying to get across to you. And, I've been reporting on these child molestation cases, these pedophile cases, since I first started in the media, 2013, when I first started my first radio show. Before that, I was researching, I was studying these things. Because, again, I don't like to see people victimized. I don't like to see children victimized, women. I don't like to see people victimized, okay? Taken advantage of, injustice laid upon any people. In the same way, I don't like to see unarmed civilians being shot down and murdered by police or corrupt courts or any of these things. See, and I got a serious suspicion. Again, I don't like to see kids being put in cages, okay, at the border because they're seeking asylum. See, I see a thread of injustice for all these people here. Just like I don't like to see a guy who's out there, and just because, he may be committing some crime, but that if you commit a crime, you do your own time. You don't say, hey, listen, I'm going to make a deal and someone else is going to do my time for me. Like I'm going to have somebody else pay my bills for me. I ate all this dinner and I bought all this stuff and I'm going to have somebody else pay the bill. Okay? It's wrong. Okay? There's a right and there's a wrong. Even whether you're a criminal or whatever. And I got a lot of concern out there when I see people and they want to report on these big, high-profile pedophile cases. Everyone's talking about it now. But they don't have that same concern for injustice, for kids being held in cages at the border. No, that's okay. Or innocent people being shot down by cops. Well, that's okay. If you don't have this same kind of, if you're not sympathetic to the people, the victims of these crimes, if you don't have that kind of empathy, if you don't have that kind of concern for the victims and all these situations, if sometime you're taking the side of the oppressor, I got a lot of concern about what your motivations are, when you're talking about these other cases? Could it just be because it's a popular topic right now and a lot of people are getting a lot of hits from it? Could that be it? You think so? It could be, right? It could be. And again, too, it brings up this other thing that's got me all freaked out. We're flowing along here. Okay? The seamless broadcasting that I give you here is this bizarre phenomenon that I can't even describe it. I'll give you an example. Back when I had the beeper company back on Staten Island, in the Staten Island Mall, we used to have to go and do these. Back then, they didn't have internet or computer networks like we have today. So I would have to go to the mall where our point of sale billing software was, and make a backup and bring it back to the office and churn out the bills. So I would go there at night when the mall closed and do this all night long. And then I had to go back to the office and bring it back and do a restore. Whole big nightmare. Okay. And so one of these nights when I'm there at the mall doing this backup and this restore and running the invoice and the billing, I had no forewarning, no any idea, but they were filming a music video there at the mall. It's a big giant opera that had hundreds of people. I'm surprised they didn't try and kick me out. And they're playing this music that loud all over the place, and the film crews here and there. They had a big craft table with food, you know. And then they got it was a union gig, because you see those union guys that just stand around, those key grip guys, you know, the truckers they call them, you know, drivers, you know, they just stand around. And I got tuned into that because my brother-in-law was one of those guys. My ex-brother-in-law, but he was one of those guys, and he used to joke about he'd show up at a construction site, and he goes, "Hey guys, I'm your $45 an hour coffee boy. I'll go get the coffee." They show they don't work, do any work, but they're making $41 an hour, you know. And then when I was also there too at the Staten Island Mall, I think I told the story a couple of times. The Teamster guys used to shake down all the delivery men and stuff like that. You know, they had this whole big thing going on, and so you know I got wise to how they worked, and you know all their shenanigans in their operations too as well, firsthand, watching it close up, you know. And it's kind of a long story. It's kind of a long story, but I think I told it a few times before, where the guy actually was having a heart attack, you know. And as he was having a heart attack, he thought of me, and I was praying for the guy at the same moment too. And he came back, "Eddie, from now on, you're my man with God. From now on, you got to do all the praying for me." You know, big thug. Yeah, boy. The guy, he went to prison too. By the way, he was in his 50s, and he had to do like 15 years. I mean, a stand-up guy, don't go do his time. He's out now, I'm sure. Anyway. So it always struck me, man. It was that band New Radical, you know, and the song was "You Gotta Give What You Give." Da, 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 da. And I, you know, there was this big, giant, expensive filming his music video of a song I'd never heard before, of a band that no one heard of. Because this was way back in the days of AOL, and I actually went on AOL chat room and I said, "Hey, has anybody heard of this band called New Radical?" No one's heard of it. So it always struck me as odd. You know, and then you hear the song later on. It's in commercials, it's on TV, it's everywhere, right? This one-hit wonder somehow became this big giant hit. They never did another song, but you know. And it always struck me as odd. And I posted on the internet in this private group that I'm in, you know. And I said, you know what? This always struck me as odd. This group here, no one's ever heard of them, you know. They didn't have a big hit or anything like that. And then they had this big giant budget film, music video. And, you know, people start commenting, as people do, because everybody wants to be an expert on things. And they said, well, Ed, that they had a big hit. That song was all over. And I says, yeah, I know. I'm talking about when at the time they filmed it, no one had ever heard of this song, because I was there. Okay? Well, Ed, you know, I've seen that video. It could have just been two guys with a camera, you know, and then you get all those extras. They work for free. And I was there. Okay, it was a big giant thing. And this was the original post. I told the whole story, but it's a big operation, huge. Like, it seems to me that in this day of internet debates and stuff like that and social media, that people have lost touch of someone who's a first-hand eyewitness to an event and what someone's opinion is about an event. Like, and if someone says, hey, I was there, I watched them film it, they had a big giant film crew, there were hundreds of people, suits standing around, it was a big giant, budget event, union event with well, Ed, maybe it was just two guys with a camera. Well, maybe, like one person thinks that they can observe a video on TV and have an equal opinion about something that someone who was actually there has. Okay? They don't see any. Well, we all have a right to our opinion, and we don't. Do people not? I guess people are just so hypnotized by TV and internet and these YouTube videos and stuff like that. They don't see the difference, and they think it's the same thing. I'll give you another example. About a year ago, I went on a date with this woman. We were talking about different things, and we were talking about this true crime story that was on Dateline or one of those things, right? And she says, well, you know what? I don't think he did it because I watched this thing on Dateline. And I said, yeah, I watched that thing on Dateline too, but, there's some flaws in the theory, because of this and that, there's some holes in the Dateline story. And she goes, well, I don't think he did it. Well, listen, between you and me, I know the investigator in that case, and the guy confessed he did it. Okay? He admitted to them that he did it. Okay? Now, if it was my client, the guy confessed to me, I wouldn't even be able to say that. I'd have to sit there quietly, while someone's telling me they know more about the case than I do, which is extremely frustrating. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about, not, okay, fine, I'm working on a case and I can't talk about, I'm talking about that I was there when they filmed this video. And someone else wants to give their opinion of what they think happened that I witnessed firsthand, that I experienced firsthand. And people don't see the difference. They don't see the difference. And another thing, too, we were watching this thing, someone posted this video about this guy down in Tennessee that has some kind of a torture thing where he puts people through this torture thing. And they posted a YouTube video, some woman commentating on this thing. And her whole commentary, it was no first hand. She was commenting about an interview she heard on another YouTube video. And then she pulls out, she says, well, I did a background check on this guy. And she pulls it out and she says, well, she pulls up her iPhone. She's looking at she paid $20 for a background check. Yeah. And then she didn't even understand what she was reading. And she even admitted, well, I don't think I know what I'm talking about here. And 300,000 views. So there's 300,000 people getting their information from someone who clearly doesn't know what she's talking. She says right out of her own mouth she doesn't know what she's talking about. But also, too, she gets her information from watching another YouTube. So 300,000 people got their information from someone who watched another video. And this is where we are. This is where we are today, man. Now, I don't want to pat myself on the back, man, but I just told you about 4 shows that are coming out here, I think it's another level of work and reporting that I'm bringing to you here, and all I'm asking for is a little support. God, zooks, man. I don't think I'm asking too much, do you? Well, we got a new sponsor here, attorney Keith M. Davidson. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful, chaotic time in your life. Now, in my career, I've dealt with thousands of lawyers and law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. They're available 24/7. You just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 8334-KMD-LAW. 8334-KMD-LAW. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you. personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents,